Welcome to Ultra Uncovered. I'm Corinne Shalvoy.
And I'm Russell Ditzworth.
And I'm Graham Shalvoy.
And we're not doing any of that wrapped stuff. We're not doing Spotify Wrapped, the year Wrapped. We're doing Unwrapped here on Ultra Uncovered because we uncover things and we unwrap them instead of wrapping them. So we are going to talk today about 2024 as a year in trail running. We're going to go through a number of different topics, including kind of our own personal recaps on the year athletically. We're going to talk about the lotteries that just happened, Hard Rock and Western specifically, and then we're going to talk about our picks and our rationale behind UROY, Ultra Runner of the Year, and TROY, or Troy, Trail Runner of the Year, along with Performance of the Year. All kinds of the years. And then we're going to end with some fun stuff about what we thought, exemplified 2024 what as it relates to gear, nutrition, shoes, and talk about kind of some things that we thought were instrumental in making it a special year for trail running. Thanks for joining us again, Graham.
Thank you for having me.
Graham, the four-time returning guest on Ultra Uncovered.
That's right. You guys keep having me.
You know, and I know you have the word for 2024 and why, but I thought I'd go ahead, since we just talked about this is the fourth time you've been on the podcast. I was going to go through some Ultra Uncovered podcast statistics. So this will be episode number 27. We started the podcast at the beginning of the year and ran through a race that we're all gearing up for now, Black Canyon. And so if you haven't seen our episode on Black Canyon, it is an evergreen episode, and you can go back and listen to some of our thoughts about the event, and a lot of what we say there will still be applicable this coming year and the following years. So be sure to go back and look at that. But 27 episodes totaling about 20 hours. And we did have a podcast drop in every single month of the year this year.
Nice job.
Congratulations. Yep. Nice job. 7 evergreen episodes, I say, for the people. Black Canyon, Gorge, 100K. We talked about all the races there, actually, though, the 30K as well. 100K is going to be a world champ year next year, so another good one to listen to. Yep. Quad Rock, we talked about in Fort Collins. The Leadville Trail Marathon, we talked about. Leadville Trail 100, Javelina, and JFK. So some really good ones, and I think lots of good opportunity for us to look at ones in the future there.
Yeah, and we'll be planning out our calendar for 2025 races. If there's a race that you're super interested in learning about that you think we should cover, and do, again, half of the episode about the race itself, how to prepare, the terrain, what to look for in your upcoming training for it. And then the second half being an interview with someone who's run the race and their firsthand experience. Let us know. We have a lot of ideas, but yeah, we'll have a bunch of brand new. Yes, Graham, you have a suggestion?
Can we do Run Rabbit Run? Because I couldn't figure it out last time. So I think a little extra help I think would help me a lot.
That's all we needed was an Ultra Uncovered episode first. And then...
All right, yes. So don't spoil it. We'll get to all of that. But Run Rabbit Run is certainly one we could do for sure. It's a very unique race. Yeah, so what else did we do?
The last thing really proud of, had 24 different guests.
Yeah.
Including Graham 4 times, a lot of members of Castle Rock Run Club, and then just some great people in our sport. Keely Henninger was on the podcast, Ryan Montgomery, David Roach, Mary Denholm, Dakota Jones, Ian Torrance. So lots of good ones out there for folks to go back and listen to.
Dare we say we broke the media storm of David Roach in his pre-Leadville interview? I mean, I think we were the first podcast to have him on ahead of Leadville. And then Rich Roll obviously listened and was like, I have to have this person.
Absolutely.
It is interesting, though. So, you get a little sense of how David talks on podcasts. And if you want to get a sense of some of his thoughts before he went out and did what he did at Leadville, listen to our pod.
Yeah, for sure. So all that to say, we would love to continue growing the podcast. Here's the point where we say, leave a review, rating a 5-star review only, not 1-star review. And subscribe.
And like what my kids are saying, slap the like button.
Yeah, slap that. Smash the like button. But YouTube, we're on YouTube. We kind of felt like the train with our dress up, kind of. I don't know. We might bring that back. We'll see. You got to test.
We were pretty fancy in those first episodes, so let us know what you like.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll keep doing it. And thanks to everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. All right. So 2024 in one word for you and why is our first topic here. So this will be a pretty quick one before we dive into UROY. Graham, 24 in a word.
Pacer. I paced you at Black Canyon, and it went really well. And I paced Todd at Leadville, and it went pretty well. And then I paced you again at Javelina, and you blew the doors off. So Pacer. It's also the name of our dog.
Also the name of our dog. Yep. I didn't know that Sage and Sandy's dog was named Pacer before I named our dog Pacer.
Oh, funny. We have neighbors that have another Pacer. I heard it outside the store.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good dog name. All right. Not original, but good, apparently. All right, Russ, what's your word?
I'm going to go with Masters. I've been a Masters runner for a few years, but we had some great Masters performances this year. Ludo at Hard Rock, 49 years old, breaking a Kilian Jornet course record. Pretty amazing. And just lots of science kind of in the background, but extending those careers for Masters runners. So I think maybe we're just breaking through on what we can do here for athletic performance.
Tyler Green, Masters record at Western.
Yep.
Right?
Another good one.
So yeah, I totally agree. We're all masters, so we like that. Gives us all hope to see people doing incredible things well into their 40s and beyond. Okay, so my word, nobody's going to be surprised since I started a brand called Women Can. My word is women. There were so many women that did amazing things this year. In our sport alone, Jasmine Paris, Courtney Walter, Katie Scheid, Tara Dower. But outside of our sport, right? Caitlin Clark, Parker Valby, Sydney McLaughlin, Sha'Carri Richardson. Most recently, Whoopi Goldberg announced she's going to create a network only showing women's sports and nothing else. So it is kind of the time of women, and we see that in and outside of our sport. So that's my word.
Awesome.
All right, we're going to jump into UROY. So I don't know how long UROY's been going on. It's got to be back.
Ultra Running Magazine has been there since 1982.
Yeah.
And they have UROY winners posted on their website.
Back to 82?
Back to, I don't know about 82, but in the 80s.
For sure.
Okay. So it's been going a long time. I don't know. We now have Free Trails Trail Runner of the Year, which has broadened out to international.
As well as
agnostic.
Sub-ultra.
Yes. Only trail, like any trail, not just ultra. So when we're talking about UROY, and I don't know for sure if this is new this year, but I did hear from the man himself, Jamil Curry, that there is now a global UROY award.
They awarded it last year as well.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yep.
Sponsored by Goo. It's called GUROY. Global UROY.
Okay. But when we're talking about UROY, we're talking about around 40 people that vote each year, and they come up with 10 male and 10 female ultra distance North American trail runners of the year. So this is all ultras, anyone who resides in North America or is a citizen of the US. So we have people like Katie Scheid, who has not lived here for a while, but is a citizen.
Quitter. Doesn't she live in France?
As well as international people who live in the United States
such
full
as
time. Emily Hoggett's a great example. Matthew Blanchard, I didn't realize lived in Canada, so he's eligible.
Now, are we sure he's from France? I know he lives in Quebec, and he has a heavy French accent, of course, but he may be from Quebec, so that gives him born rights.
I don't know, but he is eligible.
Someone's screaming into their phone right now.
Probably. Yes, correct. Yes. Anyways, okay. So
but UROY is also terrain agnostic. So it's like trail or road are eligible.
Except I believe Camille Herron retracted herself from
just herself personally.
Only herself personally. Yeah. But we could consider things like, the road ultra.
Consider things like Courtney Olson's 50-mile record at Tunnel Hill. Probably technically a trail run since it's Tunnel Hill, but if she did it at like a IAU World Championship, that would still qualify for UROY, as opposed to it would not be considered for trail run of the year.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so these are the factors. I guess in creating my list, I considered the things that they pay attention to when they suggest to the voters, please take these things into account. One of those is the most competitive races. Another is kind of the entire body of work for the year. So the full season, if somebody has a couple of DNFs, maybe that's a little bit of a ding against them versus somebody completing all their races. And then also kind of head-to-head results where they exist if somebody beats somebody outright at a specific race. And then again, yeah, like you said, no sub ultras, no FKT is considered in this.
Also true, yeah, for
Okay.
both TROY and UROY,
Right.
despite grams.
Well,
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So, first question before we go into our picks on this: what do you guys think about? Is UROY still a relevant ranking? Like, how much weight does it bear in our sport in terms of helping people, land contracts or sponsorships, or do people really think it's a little bit like
archaic?
Yeah, or they're kind of
they want to broaden it.
Yeah, maybe not, or like, are these people voting necessarily the right people to be voting for this? If there's only 40 people, how are those people selected, the voters, etc.?
I mean, I like the idea of TROY opening it up to kind of the public and then waiting. Did you hear they're weighting people on how well they did in Free Trail Fantasy on their score for UROY? I think it's brilliant. Yeah. It's really smart. So, yes, I think TROY is kind of the way of the future. I think it's silly that we have to talk about two. UROY, TROY. It doesn't make any sense. They should put them together.
I mean, I personally like that TROY's out there and gives a spotlight for the sub-ultra space right now, which UROY does not do for trail running, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we're not getting a space for sub-ultra at all with UROY. And, being connected to Ultra Running Magazine, there's a lot of history there. And to me, honestly, they go through a top 10 list. I think we just picked top 5 for UROY. But, anything that's going to give a little bit of a spotlight to some runners that had a good year, I'm all in favor of. So I don't mind that there's differences, and I like that there's, a way to kind of celebrate some people that had special years.
So I agree with a lot of that. I think that it's really good exposure. I can say that when UROY comes out every year, there are definitely some that pop up and I'm like, really? Like, I don't necessarily think that person should be considered in UROY, because I feel like they say, oh, they won this and this and this, and none of those were necessarily competitive races. And I'm like, well, then that makes me feel like this is much more of a, how much exposure that person had, kind of popularity, visibility contest. I don't love that. I like Troy, but what I find hard about Troy is that I can't separate, like, it's really hard for me to compare somebody who had a stellar sub-ultra year with somebody who had a stellar ultra year. One, because I'm not as familiar with the sub-ultra races and how competitive they are. A lot of them are international, but I almost would rather see like top 5 ultra runner of the year globally and top 5 sub-ultra runner of the year globally.
I feel like sub-ultra is almost like the JV team who hasn't gotten up to the higher.
Oh my God, Graham.
The Golden Trail World Series wants to knock you down a few notches here.
Call me.
Did you see some of the finishes to these Golden Trail World Series?
I did see the one.
It's pretty incredible.
Oh, it is. No question about it. When they do Western States and finish like that too, then I really think
my God. Okay. The biases are coming out early. All right. So let's go through some picks. Russ. I mean, I think a lot of these overlap for many of us. Yeah. Russ. Let's go 5 through 1 on the women's side.
Okay, so 5 through 1 for me. I had Mary Denholm in number 5 position on the women's side. She had a fantastic year. She was the queen of Leadville this year. Yep. Won the Leadville Trail Marathon, won Silver Rush 50, which was only a week later. Back to back. And then ran by far the second fastest time in Leadville Trail 100 history. Previous first place is Ann Trayson. 18 hours low. Previous second place was Claire Gallagher. And I think Mary's time was maybe 40 minutes better than Claire's, something in that ballpark. So she ran an exceptional race. Yeah. Then she came back and ran under the course record at JFK. Yeah. And that to me is what really topped it off to put her on this list. Because it's one thing to be kind of the queen of Leadville, have kind of those 3 in there. Leadville Trail Marathon really shouldn't be considered for UROY. It's technically a marathon, but it is a 4-hour event.
But 4 hours.
But I had her in there at 5th, and a little bit about Mary there. I had Emily Hawgood in 4th place.
So just real quick on Mary. Mary is now resides in Colorado, but she came from the road background. So this was really her first year jumping into trails after spending many, many years ratcheting down her road marathon time to be able to run 2 OTQ times in the last 4 or 5 years. And so really worked on that speed, but has said on multiple interviews, including ours, that she always intended to go into the trails and she's really excited to like be in the trails now. So yeah, just again, somebody who's come from the road, bringing that speed and then showing what they can do on the trails.
Recently partnered with Kraft.
Yep.
And has just, I think, had a great year. I had Emily Hoggett had, she lives in California. She's from Zimbabwe, I believe, and also has finished Western States numerous times. But this year, she had top 10s in both Western States and UTMB. And to me, not many people get to do that every single year. Those are arguably the two biggest ultra races that are out there. You top 10 at both of those, to me, you've got to be considered. She also had some first place finishes in some other races. Nothing overly notable, but it's not like those were her only two results.
Yeah. And Emily always has the biggest, most gigantic smile on her face of all time.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. But she is so consistent, especially at Western, and just like rarely seems to have a bad race, it seems. So she's just been on a roll for, I feel like, the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep. I had Rachel Drake in my third position. She started the year after getting an Olympic Trials qualifier and skipping the Olympic Trials marathon in February. She went and got a golden ticket with a first place at Black Canyon 100K. So the Black Canyon 100K, a top 10 at Western States, and then just obliterating the course record at JFK. To me, that was what did it for me for Rachel there in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, also in the middle of residency right now.
A child.
Has a young child. Also kind of came back from after, having her child, dealt with some injury issues, a sacral stress fracture, and had to kind of work through that, but really was smart about it and coming back. She also just has so much range. I mean, I feel like people used to think of her as like Golden Trail. Like one time she beat Maud Mathis at a race. Like, Holy cow, she's so fast. And then, she really proved that she can do distance this year and go really long. Top 10 at Western again, but also she was 4th in one of the Golden Trail races, almost 3rd in this epic battle at Mammoth.
Yep, Mammoth 27K, which was a Golden Trail World Series
between
race.
Herself and Anna Gibson there. So that was super exciting to watch. Just, massive range. Also known as a bit of a lower volume athlete and really takes pride in just taking care of herself, doing whatever she needs to do, but has a great group now, lives in Salt Lake, and is training with that core group down there of Leah and Mike and Tyler and Ben and Caleb and all those guys.
Formerly training in Portland and really tapping into that Bowerman Track Club, elite group, training on the Nike campus and being there, and then now in Salt Lake and finding some people. It sounds like she's really found a good spot for herself there from a training perspective, and just from a life perspective is just, the mileage that she did. Maybe she wants to do more mileage, but this is kind of where she's at. And
I remember seeing videos of her like running with her backpack on to the hospital, working a full shift, then running home, and just
dedicated.
Seriously. So all except for Graham. For Russ and I had the same 5, 4, and 3. So before we go to Graham, real quick, we'll go 2 and 1. So we're all the same on the women's side. Graham, what's number 2?
Courtney.
Why?
And Courtney had a little bit of a different year. I think no one else could follow up on the year that she had last year, where she did the triple, which was so nuts.
Triple with 2 course records.
It's just wild. But to go and have the race that she ran at Mount Fuji, I believe she got 2nd overall.
3rd
overall. She arguably could have won the race. It's a little hard to know what happened in those last few miles. She could have broken down, but she may have just let them go a little bit. So, that performance was unbelievable.
She's been the best for so many years in a row right now. Like, I almost think like it's a little bit unfair, but she has to do something so extraordinary to impress the people. She didn't miss. When did she miss? First place in all 4 of her races: Hard Rock, Mount Fuji, Chianti.
Course record to Hard Rock.
Course record
to Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Maybe not what she was shooting for. Maybe she was shooting for like a sub 24 or something like that. But still a course record. It's like she's got to do so much to impress the people. But that leaves the first place that's out there, and it doesn't seem like it's that controversial because it's unanimous among the 3 of us, and that's Katie Scheid, who just had a phenomenal year and did run the most competitive races that are out there.
So very few people can nail hard rock, UTMB Western double. And I mean, to be able to run it the way she ran it.
Setting a course record, breaking Courtney's course record at UTMB.
Did she? Okay. Yeah. I was thinking Western. Yeah.
Got close-ish. I mean, she ran the second fastest, fastest time ever at Western, but she broke Courtney's at UTMB. There's your head-to-head competition.
Ellie Greenwood's record from 2012 at Western hadn't been touched.
Yep.
In 12 years.
Right.
And in the last 2 years, Katie's broken it twice, Courtney's broken it once. And Katie was pretty close, 15:29. And now the course record is 15:21 or something like that. So, I mean, that to me was her best performance right there.
Agreed. Yeah, I think I'm waiting for the race where they line up together now.
Hopefully we're going to get that. We think we'll get it at UTMB next year.
I mean, get the popcorn, get the fireworks. It's going to be amazing.
Will there be betting happening?
There should be. And then the only other one, instead of Emily Hoggood, I had Corinne Chalvoy, who just crushed this year. Ran just an absolute blazing fast FKT.
We'll talk about me later, don't you?
And just crushed. We'll talk about her later and all the reasons.
That's very sweet of you to put me in there. I appreciate that. But Katie also running Canyons 100K. And being so far up in the front of the field, running the time she did, running the way she did. It just seemed like she just kind of decided this year, like, I'm just going for it. And I'm just going to just go for it from the very beginning of every single one of these races. And just like, she had kind of this unabashed like way of racing this year.
For sure. Well, and I think Canyons is hard. And I think it doesn't get as much press because, man, they've changed that course every single year. So, you can go run a super fast time, but how do we know what fast versus last year versus the year before is? So I think it kind of shadows her performance out there, but I mean, she crushed.
Yeah, I think she was 6th overall.
Yeah.
So very good. And, the folks like Tim Tollefson were out there trying to get like a golden ticket. And, before, I don't think Tim really even cracked. He just didn't have the greatest day, but,
Yeah, Mary was also in that race way up front. Ended up dropping from it. She was leading her right in the first couple for a while, but it was it was pretty stacked. I mean, MK Sullivan ran really well there too. So
definitely,
yeah. Okay, so our females are Katie, Courtney, Rachel, Emily Hoggood, Mary Denholm. That's who we like for top 5.
I am going to be very surprised if there's somebody that cracks the top 5 in the final standings. That's not
one of those. Okay, we'll see if we're right.
And Corinne.
No, you can be my one vote if you had a vote.
Who says I don't?
I don't think you do. All right, so let's talk about the men. We have a little bit of differing opinions on this one. Graham, who's your number 5?
Eli Hemming from Kremlin, Colorado. This dude is next generation up and coming crusher. He's the kid that Jim Walmsley should be going, wonder when he's going to come get me. I think he's amazing.
He's methodically stepping up in distance, too.
I love it. And his wife's unbelievable. I think they're the next generation.
So, a little bit of Eli's year. He started off with kind of some low-key 50Ks, 50 and 60Ks. Big Alta and Black Canyon 60K, right?
But I actually was out there when he was running Black Canyon 60K.
Just obliterated those
photos. Blew the doors off of it.
When I was a follow cam, and I made an attempt. And this was after running 50K of the pacing U at Black Canyon, and my legs were just on fire. And I took 10 steps and went, no. He was running like 540 pace. Flying.
Follow cam becomes static cam.
Static cam. Real static. Like I couldn't move static.
Yeah.
And so those were all leading up to his performance at his best performance of the year, which was his OCC course record.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where he probably left some time out on too.
Did you see that famous thing where he actually stopped?
On the climb?
Yes.
Yeah. Just like
physically stopped. Yeah. Cameraman's like, do you need anything? In first place. Yeah. Standing in first place.
Say he went to the well in that effort. Yeah. He's awesome. And seems like a pretty joyful, former triathlete, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So another kind of from a different sport.
I don't know if either of you know this, but he is signed up for Black Canyon 100K.
100K, is he?
Yes. So the stepping up that next distance.
It's happening more and more. I
Yeah.
think Danny Marino signed up for Black Canyon 100K too.
Woo. I think I'm
Right.
just going to get on his wheel and just
Just stay.
Go for it.
All right.
I
keep
also
going.
had him in 5th. You had somebody else in 5th for us.
I had Jim Walmsley in 5th place.
How dare you?
You know,
Why?
there's only one result that you can really look at for Jim this year in Ultra Run of the Year. It does happen to be a Western States win, but it's the only result that's there.
I agree with you. I had him lower down.
I had him in 4th.
Fourth.
We both had him in 4th.
I think he was injured this year. We don't race as much. It's just hard to say. Yeah, Hayden, who crushed, and we'll get there in a minute, but you look at his year and then you compare, you're like, it's Walmsley. And if you put him up any higher, you get accused of, just saying, oh yeah, it's Walmsley. Of course he's up front.
So
just because he's the best, you can't give him like the LeBron treatment and just like put him up there just because of his name.
So if he had been top 10 at UTMB, would it have changed it?
For sure.
Yeah.
Because
his
it would be a
standing.
second big result.
Yeah.
Even if it was
I
top 10?
I think he'd have to go top 5 to break through some of these other performances. I mean, the other ones are unreal.
Yeah, when you compare all the way, I mean, maybe Rod is maybe the only other one that I would put him
Graham,
on.
that's who you have in 3rd.
Yep.
Rod Farvard.
Yeah, I mean, so Rod, like Katie, crushed canyons. And we can't compare times, but he ran like something was chasing him the whole time. And then Western States. I mean, someone who's been there, who's done well, but he hasn't really done well. And to come out and run with Jim and be ahead of Jim on multiple occasions and hold Hayden off while Hayden was running 5Ts at the end. And then the most epic throw up I've ever seen at the finish line at Western States. I mean, he had an unbelievable year. He had some other stuff happen. His full body of work isn't, is awesome with some of the other races he had. But I mean, he really kind of unlocked himself this year.
It parlayed it into a great deal with Hoka and
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I didn't have him in our top 5. I think he would have been in the second half. But because of the reason I didn't put him in top 5 is because of those other, there were 2 outstanding results, but then there were 2 like 13th, 15th place kind of results. So that's the only reason I didn't put him in top 5. Were you there? Were you there with me when he finished at Western?
Yes.
That's so we got to witness it firsthand. We were actually on the track, like in the media area. And I actually felt like I was like really concerned.
Kind of worried.
Because
we were talking.
Because when he collapsed, he got like really still. And then he started making some guttural noises that like sounded like he was maybe having a medical issue. And I think the whole ambiance just went like, oh God, is this guy okay? For like a good like minute or something.
Well, and I think part of that was also why if you were on the track, you had no idea people in the live stream were freaking out because Hayden was right freaking there.
Yeah.
So like we were all going, oh my God, he's not dead. And then Hayden comes onto the track and everybody turns and like, oh boy.
That's what prompted that.
It was a wild experience.
Yeah. But yeah, and then he seemed to just like be okay, but it was really concerning for him.
Well, I think, laying on the finish line, you've got a live stream on you. Everybody's watching you. At some point, you're going to be like, God, I better get up.
He seemed like at one point he didn't care. And he was just like, I have absolutely nothing left. It's yeah. It was pretty wild to see that sprint. I don't know what pace he was going, but what did you say? It was like
I heard 5:30
5:30
pace was what Hayden was running to catch. So he must have been running fast too.
at the end of 100 miles.
Yeah, Tim Tollefson was pacing Rod.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
that's right.
Tim did get some bait of like, you've got to give it.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
To the finish.
Yeah, and he did. That was so.
He held off, and it just means so much more, right? Finishing second. Right
Yeah.
there to Jim after the day that he's had there.
And he wasn't very far behind Jim. I mean,
No.
It was 10 minutes maybe.
That was less than that.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
And
so
Jim
fast.
really only created that gap in the last like 10 miles.
Right, for sure.
So cool. All right. Well, you and I, Russ, had somebody else in third.
We did. All three of us had the exact same first and second, so we'll save that for a second. But Corinne, you and I both had David Sinclair at third place. I didn't realize when as he was setting the course record at JFK by a significant margin, a course record that has been held by Jim Walmsley and Hayden Hawks.
And
Adam Peterson.
Peterman had it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so all three of them have had it, and he broke it by over 10 minutes. But he also ran the course record at Speedgoat this year.
Right.
Another 50K.
Sure. And
two really good results.
Two totally different races.
Yes.
I mean, ends of the spectrum.
Even though they're similar time-wise, around 5-ish hours.
Yep.
For both of them, very different skill sets. And to me, that's what set it apart and put it as a top 5 overall performances for overall Ultra Runner of the Year, is that they were so different. If it was 2 races that were very similar, I don't know that I'd feel exactly the same.
Yeah. I just love that he's like, so, I don't know, he has the guts to be like, I'm going to do 2 brand new things on race day at JFK.
Yeah.
Super shoes and bicarb, and see if they work. And let's just go for it. And they both completely worked out for him. That's pretty gutsy to do. So, yeah, he's also somebody definitely, I think, that has not gotten a lot of limelight recently. That's just an outstanding athlete.
What a year to have the first live stream at JFK. Course records on both sides.
Totally. Wow.
Great to follow them online.
Contributed to that, or do we think that it would have happened regardless?
I think it would have happened regardless.
Yeah. But it was just fun to be able to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So, drum roll. We have the last 2 runners here, Hayden Hawks and David Roach, but we're not in the exact same order across the 3 of us. I guess maybe Graham, tell us why you have Hayden as the Ultra Runner of the Year.
Well, when you get, I guess, 3rd at Western and win OCC, 2 of the... CCC, excuse me.
You got it.
Thank you. Those are 2 of the... Or those are probably, 2 of the most premier ultras with the most competition. You know, when you do that well, both, it's hard for me to say. I think over David, he did great at Silver Rush, obviously a historic performance at Leadville, but those don't have like the level of competition that Hayden faced in his races, and to still rise above that competition there, I just gave him credit for it. And then Javelina, obviously, I think if David had gotten a course record and taken it from John Ray at Javelina, I think I probably would have put him there. But because he backed off in the last little bit, I gave Hayden a nod.
Yeah.
It was a hard one.
I mean, for me, so you and I had the same placings, and I had Hayden in front as well. To me, regardless of David runs another 2 minutes faster at Javelina, it doesn't change my outlook, honestly.
True.
Like, to me, it's the races CCC and Western versus Leadville and Javelina. And I love Leadville, and David didn't miss. And that's why he's there. This is probably one of his first times in this type of a conversation for Ultra Runner of the Year, and he knocked it out of the park this year. I don't think second is a bad placing.
No, I agree, and I think he has a shot at getting first next year based on what he's publicly said he wants to go do.
Okay, so Corinne, you did not have that order.
No,
tell us why.
Winning Ultra Runner of the Year. I don't know. I am biased. I think David Roach is amazing.
I think he's amazing.
But here's the reason. Because he won every one of his races. Hayden did not win every one of his races.
True.
That's one reason. 3 first places. Number 2, he didn't have the competition, but he had the history that he was chasing at Leadville.
Yeah. Nobody
has gotten close to that record. Within 8 minutes of it, he broke it by a lot. And it was his first 100-mile race. Like, I think that just the magnitude of the time that he ran there. And then following it up with Javelina and just kind of proving to the world that it was not a one-time fluke.
Yeah.
200s, Javelina is a very big race as well. I don't know if I put Javelina and CCC next to each other, if I would say that like Javelina is more competitive. Of course not. I think CCC definitely is, but I don't know. I just think that Silver Rush, Leadville, Javelina wins, and a historic course record that I actually don't think is going to get broken in the next couple of years.
It's a sound argument. You can't argue against that either. Honestly,
I mean, Hayden Black Canyon course record is pretty big too. There have been a lot of people that have run great, but it is, I don't know. So that's just my thought. They're both amazing.
They're both amazing.
And they both had really, really amazing years.
Okay, so did you pick that because you think that's what's going to happen, or if that's what you think should happen?
That's what I think should happen.
Okay.
I don't think
Agreed.
that's going to happen.
I'm in the.
I think
agreement.
Hayden is going to for sure get.
I don't know. So one thing for UROY specifically is, if what I'm understanding is correct, you do have a good faction of the voters who are old guard, right?
They're going to look at Javelina. Leadville is going to blow their mind.
Leadville is going to be the thing. It was 10, 15 years ago. Leadville was one of these races that probably was comparable to Western States.
No, Matt
These
Carpenter.
guys all know what Matt Carpenter did. They may take that historical fact and go, let's give him the nod. So I think it's possible.
Totally fair. Totally fair. I love it. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. We're pretty similar on picks, so
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Are we going to roll into Troy?
Yeah, I think we should probably move through these pretty quick because there's 10 deep.
Yeah.
And some of them, I looked them all up. I knew at the time what they did, but if you ask me what how Hati did, I don't know. I can come up with it off the top of my head.
So now we're on to the free trail stuff.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
free trail really does kind of lay it out for you. They only give you a certain number of candidates, right? You got 40 candidates on the women's side, 40 candidates on the men's side, and you pick a top 10.
Yeah. So real quick, that is an interesting thing in and of itself. Like, I think the UROY people also just get a list to consider, but I think people can nominate and maybe every one of those names gets thrown in. I don't know, but how do those 40 get selected? Like, I mean, it does say if
That
there's
crossed my
somebody
mind
that's
as well.
missing or a result we didn't see, please let us know. So they're trying to do their best, but I don't know. Liam,
Well, like,
how
so
are
you
those
for
selected?
this, able to select
You were not
UROY.
physically able.
I
to
was not
select
physically
Corinne.
able to select.
Or
Corinne.
could you have a write-in? Like UROY, I think might have a write-in ballot where they can, like, that person voting can write somebody's name in. on the
Sure, it
list.
keeps getting votes.
Get out of here. Anyways, you're right. There's 40 to choose from, which helps narrow it down. But at the same time, it's like, how are those determined?
And keep in mind, they're not trying to make a top 40 list.
Yeah.
If you were trying to make a top 40 list, then you could argue certain people should be over who might be the 40th person in there, right? But they're trying to say, like, we're trying to develop a top 10. Did we miss anybody that could potentially be in the top 10 with this list of 40?
Sure.
And that's probably pretty good. You probably didn't miss anybody that should be in the top 10 with that list.
I mean, there's one person that's not on this list that had a pretty outstanding year.
I noticed that as well.
Who is it?
Tara Dower.
Well, Leah Yingling's not on this list.
Yeah.
Right? The other golden ticket
did,
winners are not on this list.
Yeah.
Did the Lululemon event count?
I don't think they're counting it.
That's interesting because it was a sanctioned event, even though it was exclusive.
Yeah, I
To
don't
me,
know.
it's like in that Barkley category. Barkley counts.
Yeah. So breaking records or running. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it's not trail.
It was on dirt.
Lululemon. It was
Was
on
it?
dirt.
It was on dirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's using the same thought of not allowing Tunnel Hill.
Yeah.
That would
That's
also
true.
fall in that same
Yeah.
category.
But for you, if you were to consider Leah's 400 miles, that
Mhm.
to me, that's one of the performances of that's like
Yeah.
a breakout thing for her.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd be doing Cocodona if she didn't do Lululemon
Right.
this year.
Right. Okay. So how about just talking about some notable men? Russ. Let's talk about the people we haven't talked about. You can say maybe your top 5 and then just go into the couple that, I mean, you can say your whole 10.
I'll read the names and then I'll just make a couple other comments. So, for this one, I really see kind of like, I value the Golden Trail World Series quite a bit on the sub ultra scene. I think that's where all the best sub ultra runners are going. So
I agree.
On my list, I had kind of like the top 4 in the Golden Trail World Series all year long. These 4 guys were always battling it out, and it was Patrick Kipniego and Philemon Kiriago from Kenya, along with Remy Bonnet and Elazine Elazawi from
I had
Morocco.
2 of those.
Yeah, you had a couple of those as well. So
I mean, they had fantastic results.
they were competing in almost every single one of those events. Elazine by far had like a fantastic year, basically like a perfect record, and he won the Golden Trail World Series final.
Yeah.
And had a course record at I think it was Marathon of Mount Blanc. beating a lot of really good people.
I
so.
agree. I see him going higher up in my top 10 as soon as he steps up and then more the varsity.
Hey now, so brutal. Anyway, I did give a nod to Vincent Bouillard for winning.
So you got to say
UTMB.
what number you place these people.
I placed Vincent at 10.
Okay.
I placed Jim Walmsley at 9. I placed Killian Jornet on the strength of 2 races in 8th place.
He had a JV,
including a course record at Sierras and all.
I have him in 10th.
I had Remy Bonnet in 7th. I had Eli Hemming in 6th. Patrick Kipnego in 5th. David Sinclair in 4th. David Roach in 3rd. And I had Elazine ahead of David Roach, just based on the year that he had. And then I had Hayden again winning, similar to Ultra Runner of the Year.
Okay. All right, here's my top 10. Number 10, Killian Jornet. He's a GOAT. I know he only raced 2 races, but he broke a course record at Sierra Snell, and he won Zagama.
Yeah.
And
2 for 2.
I mean, Zagama
is Zagama.
Zagama.
And then Vincent Bouillard, I mean, we win UTMB. I think you're in there. And also, he had some other good races, but and then I put Patrick Kipnego at 8th. I had Ludo at 7th. I think Ludo had an amazing year, and he broke a hard rock course record. And
5th at UTMB.
And he got 5th at UTMB. Talk about like the doubles.
That is true.
So I feel like his whole year just amazing. Eli Hemming, I actually had in 6th, just based on everything he did and winning OCC. Walmsley, I actually had in 5th. Not saying it's Walmsley bias, but winning in Western. David Sinclair in 4th. El Hussein in 3rd. Hayden Hawks in 2nd. And David in 1st. Again.
The only thing I'll add in there is I put Vincent Bouillard way higher. I put him in 4th. Mm-hmm. You win UTMB. Damn it, you're going top 5.
Okay.
I mean, this is all I can say.
And just one of the stories of the year, product designer from Hubspot.
Yeah.
Breakout
cool
performance when everyone else in the men's field seemed to fall apart.
Yeah.
He also ran sub 20 hours.
He got damn near the
We
record.
used to talk about sub 20 being kind of not doable at UTMB on the men's side. I mean, I remember when I think it was Mathieu Blanchard, one of the other French athletes that was like this whole like sub 20 project, and it was a big deal, and he ran under that.
Yeah.
All right, Corinne, do you want to run through your ladies' picks?
All right, ladies. Number 10, Emily Hoggett. Miss Consistent. Top 10, like we mentioned before, UTMB and Western. Top 10 of both of those. Actually pretty high up. Was she top 5 both? Or 6 and 1 and 4th?
8th.
And 6th
I think
and
6th and 8th.
6th and 8th, okay. Fu Zhao Zhang, amazing runner. Did amazing things this year. Also kind of that range of distance, right? From being second at
She was 2nd at Western.
and then she was
16:20.
16:20. And then I believe raced CCC. I'm gonna have to look back at that. I thought it was one of the shorter distances at UTMB, and that surprised me. But she also did it amazing. It was definitely top 10 there. Sarah Alonso. I've got Katarina Hartmuth in 7th. I've got Toni McCann in 6th. She won everything she raced, including CCC, stepping up a distance. 5th, I've got Joyce Naru, who raced a ton, was unsponsored until the very end of the.
Why?
And then got picked up by On. We kept going, why isn't this woman sponsored yet? Rachel Drake in 4th, Ruth Croft in 3rd, just because she set a record, I believe it. Yeah, I gotta look.
Sounds right.
And then Courtney in 2nd and Katie in 1st.
Yeah. So the bottom 5 that I've got were more international. And it was just based on looking them up and looking at some of their things that they did. So I had in 10, Rosanna Bachauer. Bukauer. Who had an amazing year. Hao Ha T, who has a really cool name. And she had an unbelievable year. I'm not going to go deep into these guys because I don't. But I know at the time I thought it was amazing. Fu Zhao Zhang, now is it Joyline or Jolene? Jolene.
Wait.
Chepnengenyo?
Yep. Chipnenko. Yep.
She won a lot of the early Golden Trails.
Yep.
Joyce ended up winning the overall and doing a little bit better.
Agreed. Blondine had an awesome year. I had her in 6th, Ruth in 5th, Rachel, Emily, Courtney, Katie.
Okay, I'll run through mine. I did have a couple different names. I had Judith Wider in mine in my top 10 as well, coming in at number 6 with a great run at Marathon de Mont Blanc. I had Madalena
First
Floria.
record at Marathon de Mont Blanc.
Yeah, okay. I had Madalena Floria at 10. She was a
Okay.
top
Yeah.
Golden Trail World Series. Now, she didn't have the final that she wanted, but throughout the year, she was perennially second, always on the podium. Yeah. So she had a great year. Tony McCann, I had at 9. Emily Hoggood, 8. Ruth Croft, 7. Ruth Croft's UTMB. We didn't talk about that, but she left a lot in reserve and still ran a great UTMB. And I think the sky is the limit for her.
So I'm going to talk through Ruth Croft's results. Tarawera, UK first, Transvolcania first and course record. Yep. The Solomon Zugspitz Ultra Trail 67K first.
Always wanted to do that one.
Yeah. And then UTMB second.
Yeah, I had a really good year. Really good year. Like I said, Judith Wider was in 6th. I had Fuzhou Zhang in 5th. I had Rachel Drake in 4th, now that you can consider both the sub-ultra and the ultra-distance stuff in there. So amazing year for her. I had Joyce in Giro in 3rd. She was the Golden Trail World Series winner. And then I had, again, Courtney in 2nd and Katie in 1st. So similar to UROY there. But some very good picks, and we did not consult with each other. I'm pretty surprised at the agreement on a lot of these.
All right.
Okay. Should we do...
We're going to talk about our own personal year.
Yes.
Athletic recaps.
All right.
Who do we want to start with?
Well, Russ is up first on the list.
I'm going to talk about my friend Russell Ditsworth here. Let's talk about what you did in 2024. Do you know how many miles you ran? Because the Strava Year in Sport bottles are going to be coming out on the feed. That's the plug.
I love that.
And
so we have 21 more days left in the year, and I have broken my yearly mileage record from over 2,500 miles.
For the first time ever?
First time ever.
Woo-hoo.
So you want to hear something funny? All 3 of us, I may have just crossed into 2,600, but we're all right at about 2,500 right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm at 20. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to find out when I'm at 25.
Yeah, I caught up to Corinne after she took some down. We definitely
I know what you're doing. Keep down.
Jason mileage.
Yeah. Okay. So Russ ran more than 2,500 miles. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You also did the Pikes Peak Roadrunner Winter Series, which is a great local series here in Colorado Springs. They do a fall series and a winter series. And a lot of the times, Castle Rock Run Club members jump into these road races. One is on trail, but they're winter races that kind of help you keep your speed up, and they're good incentives.
They're always stupid cold.
Oh, man.
They're always snowy, especially on the short, fast ones. It's just, it never works perfectly.
They're fun, though. They're really fun, and they're a good motivator, and they're good community builders. So that's 3 races. He did the long series, which is 8, 10, and 12 miles, and you won the series age group.
It was a battle of attrition. Just had to keep showing up and let the other people not get there.
It's a win is a win. You also ran the Royal Gorge 30K, came 8th in that in 3:11, an Air Viper race. Boulder 10K. How about this? This is second fastest career Boulder. How many have you run? Do you know?
I've run 11.
Okay, 11 Boulders, which is the infamous massive 10K on the streets of Boulder that ends in the stadium. You ran a 41:55, and that was the second fastest you've done.
It is. The quest for sub 40 continues.
Quest for sub 40. Get that T-shirt. It'll happen next year. Is your year. Leadville Trail Marathon.
Yes.
Ran a 5:06 there. CRC Beer Mile, the most important race of the year.
I mean,
was 3rd.
So sorry to miss it this year.
In 7:23. I mean, well, mostly DNFs is beer miles, so at least you finished. And 7:23 is a really pretty good time.
I enjoy going on the podium for the CRC Beer Mile. I have never taken the title, maybe 1 year, but I'll keep trying.
And then big race of the year was Never Summer 100K.
Yep, that's the shirt.
That's the sweatshirt. Got your Western States qualifier there. Ran in 1944. That was a little bit of an epic, like a bit of, how would you describe that?
A bit of a journey. I think it was a competitive race for about 50 miles.
Yeah.
And then the storm rolled in and nearly took us all out. And I was just happy to get in there with the finish and get my qualifier.
Didn't go hypothermic and have to drop. You completed it.
Highest drop rate ever at Never Summer.
And that's a hard race. How much climbing is in the Never Summer 100K?
15,000 feet in the 100K.
Awesome. Then you jumped into a 10 miler from 100K to 10 miler.
All over.
Wildcat Trail, also first in his age group and a 6th overall in a 118. And capped the year off with the local Castle Rock Rock Trot, okay, running 2036 on also a cold, little bit slick
so
morning.
cold.
Very good.
Chilly.
And representing the locals. So how do you feel about your year?
Honestly, like really happy with it. I feel like I tried to race a lot. I had a few years before where it was like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 like key performances. And I wanted to get in more of the practice of trying to run and hurt a little bit on some of the shorter stuff. So anything from a 1 mile beer run to 100K was my distances this year.
And raced 8 times, not including the
Right.
series. So that's a lot of racing.
And it was good. It was fun to do. And most of these races I was able to do with somebody from Castle Rock Run Club. We'd go up and Royal Gorge Groove. I think we had 4 or 5 people up there. Never Summer, there was a group of 8 or so of us up there, either in the 60K or the 100K. So that always makes those experiences really fun to kind of share the going to the race, the warming up for the race, and hanging out before and after. Everyone's trying their hardest in the actual event, but the hanging out between and after is really fun and meaningful, and had a lot of Castle Rock Run Club folks. Leadville Trail Marathon, there's a bunch of folks up there for that one too. I would actually put that one as maybe my best performance of the year. Just the trail marathon, I was shooting for 5 hours on that one and had a pretty good day, and it was nice out there. So there's just always people that show up that run really well there. And
you attended 83 Castle Rock Run Club runs. I mean, that's impressive considering I think I attended only about 10 of them this year because of Workout Wednesday and other things.
You did more than 10.
Weekend runs?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I counted weekend runs. You know, you go to 83 when you organize 65 of them.
That's the strategy. Organize the strategy, and then you get to count.
That's it.
Well, yeah, it was awesome to see just you be able to run a full year and like be healthy.
Jen, that's a big thing too. I mentioned my biggest running year ever, over 2,500 miles and counting. Last year, the big focus was to run Leadville Trail 100. My first 100 miler, a big achievement in itself. But overall, the year was such a struggle to just even get to the start line. And so this year, in a lot of ways, was more rewarding to just be able to run consistently all year.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great year, Russ.
Thank you.
Congrats.
All right.
Races.
Graham, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I had to do some Strava stalking to figure out Graham's entire race list. And Graham he mentioned his word of the year was pacing. And he did pace, and he got to go to a lot of very cool races this year. You paced at Leadville. You paced at Javelina. You paced at Black Canyon. You paced at the Great Divide 100.
This is true. Yes.
And you got to attend Western State.
And you got to attend Western and Hard Rock.
You got it. All right. You got it covered.
Yeah.
You got to run through Forest Hill with Ryan Montgomery.
I did. It was, as a geek and spectator of the sport, probably the greatest outside of being at UTMB, which is also amazing. But I mean, this year was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was blast.
And the other thing is, though, is like, okay, yes, that was an important part of your year, but you hop in these 50Ks with Air Viper Racing Team, and it's like the Bobcat 50K, the Rock Hawk 50K, and the other one was the Ring the Springs 50K, all sub 5 hours, so 4:45 at Ring the Springs for a second place. Bobcat was second place in 4:49, and then our local trails in Castle Rock, Rock Hawk 50K, third place, but 4:13. Matching or bettering your best time ever,
2 minutes,
there, right? By 2 minutes there. A 4:13 50K. Now, you know those trails really well, but that is still a very difficult time on that course. It's choppy. These are trails that are very windy, and it's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's a 100-foot climb and then a little descent, and then you're around a corner and topsy-turvy, and really the max side of the trails closer to the start finish are built for mountain bikes. It's a lot of up and down, and little hills that don't give you any credit for the elevation, but it cuts down your pace
For sure.
significantly. So to me,
Did
that
you
was
taper
impressive.
for
No, that was during my peak 100-mile week for Run Rabbit Run.
So 413 at the end.
At the end of a 100-mile week.
That's pretty impressive.
And then I do want to hear some of your thoughts about Run Rabbit Run. Obviously, didn't go the way you wanted it to. You got 50 miles there.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about Run Rabbit. That was the main focus and the build for the year.
It was. I wanted everything to revolve around it. I don't know. I think I may have had the possibility of a stomach bug. I had some GI stuff all week, and it just pretty quickly into that race, I didn't feel very good, and I couldn't get anything to work, and I was troubleshooting, and I just felt super nauseous. Finally, did throw up at like mile 40. I just didn't feel like I kind of had it, which was a bummer because that was round 3 of training for 100 miles. Still have not landed one yet. And I continually hear this from people like, you should just slow down. Just slow down and, get it. I'm like, I don't want to slow down. That's not how I want to do it. So I think, I've been continually testing some new stuff, especially with hydration. I definitely felt like this year and in other races in the past, some of the sports drinks that I end up drinking while I'm out there, especially the super strongly mixed ones, that usually kind of kicks off not feeling good. And then sometimes I can get it back and sometimes I can't. But I've got a different strategy going into this year, and I'm going to do 200 Ks Black Canyon and Ring the Springs to test out all those theories. Hopefully this next year goes well, because I know it in my heart I can do really well at a 100-miler if I can just finish the goddamn race. Yep, and there it is.
I think that's super smart. You're kind of getting past that 4 or 5 out. You do the 50K so damn fast. It hurts your ability to get into those later hours and test some
and
of
really
those
see does this work for a 12-hour race or a 10-hour race or like in Black Canyon, like an 8:22.
I love that. And the last thing that I'll mention, Graham, is that you're not giving up speed at any point in time. The Castle Rock Trot, I know you were gearing up for a PR there. The weather maybe wasn't going to be perfect for it, but you ran a 17:29, got a 5K PR. Yeah. So you're going into 2025 with your fastest 5K under your belt.
I mean, I wanted to start that Black Canyon build with a bunch of speed, and it worked. And I was really happy. I mean, I've run a handful, probably 10 5Ks to PR at 50 or 52. It's pretty special. It was
cool. No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Everyone knows you're fast. We all know you're fast, and you just gotta figure out how to get through the stomach stuff, the GI stuff, and I think it's gonna be exciting to see when you do. So
I'm gonna be like Ludo at 49.
Well, it's amazing how many stories we've heard of other people that are like, "Oh yeah, I had to do 500s before I figured out how to finish one," and it's like that exists, and that's very relatable, and it probably is more often the norm with people than them knocking it out of the park on the first 100-miler. So,
one more thing that I'll just mention on that is, I've been now running ultras since 2017. After a while, you do a lot of the same races, and you kind of lose a little bit of the fire. Not being able to finish actually is a huge motivator. Every single year, I'm going to try these new things. I'm going to give this a shot, try these other races, test this out so I can go do it again. And it just kind of keeps the stoke alive, which is kind of nice.
And you're pushing the envelope on each block. Like you said, you had your first 100-mile week during this block.
Right.
Like never before had you prepared for 100. And you prepared really diligently for those ones. So you're still pushing the envelope on some of those pieces too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so dedicated and committed to the training and the PT and all the outside strength work and all that. And I'm always impressed by that. But I will say that it takes a special kind of person to be motivated by not finishing a bunch of and you are that person because you're a salesperson.
Yeah.
And so you just want to try to get it right. But I feel like some people a few times in, they'd be like, forget this. I'm not doing this anymore. So I don't know. It does work with your personality.
All right. Well, on to Corinne.
Let's talk about the star of the show.
Totally. I mean, the number 5 ultra runner of the year, at least on my list. And the cool thing is I got to experience a lot of this. I got to pace a lot of it. So I very much felt a part of it, which was a really cool thing. So, Black Canyon 100K, 12th female, ran a 9:52, which was a 90-minute course PR. We passed multiple professional women athletes at the end. It was a very cool experience, and you ran it so unbelievably well. It was a really special day. I expected that to be the highlight of your year, and then it wasn't. Which ran Party CK, first female, second overall, course record, 5:33. Pretty cool. So cool that I want to run it this year because I'd love to. So that was awesome. Kendall Mountain, third female, course PR, 2:13 to PR. That's third time running it?
Third time running it.
Yeah, so PR at 42. Pretty cool.
7 years after the first time I did it.
Yeah.
Kendall Mountain, shorter
12.
distance.
12 miler.
Trail,
Short
mountain run up to the top of Kendall Mountain.
Yep. Goes to 13.2, I think.
Okay.
And I think it's 3,500 vert, steep sucker. But man, it's wild.
It hurts. Oh, it hurts bad.
So bad. Rockhawk 50K, first female, fifth overall, 4:33. That was the same race.
Also tapered for this race, right?
Yeah, right. What was your mileage that week?
105.
It was more than mine.
For the first time ever, only time I've ever gone over 100 miles, other than being in a race miles that week, which was awesome.
And then Rampart Range Road FKT, which is 57 miles, and most of it's at 9,000 feet. So, pretty thin air up there. And you felt really good for almost the whole thing. And, I think everybody turned some heads. I think it was kind of a preface of what was to come in about a month and a half after that. And you were
just to give some context. Todd Dill had run the FKT there in less than an hour faster than that.
740.
740.
I might have been 50.
750. It might have been just under 8 hours. That's
Yep.
right. So less than like 30 seconds a mile lower than that one, and just so consistent. I was there, paced. My section was 15 miles, and I paced 14 and a half. I got to the end point before she left. I'm considering that as not getting dropped.
And the reason I did that was because I didn't really have a race that fit well into the build to Javelina that didn't conflict with like work stuff or, supporting athletes at other races. There wasn't anything that I felt like was going to be good. And so Rampart Range Road really does simulate this, like, up and down gravel, little bit of rockiness, but really like some of the kind of slight hills that you experience at Javelina. And I wanted to practice like running consistently and running every step of that long of a distance. And then, it was inspiration that both Dave and Todd had run it before. And it was super cool that the whole run club showed up. And I had a pacer the entire time with me, and then had multiple crew stops that I wanted to practice the fast in and out transitional aid station stops. And then at the very end, Graham's parents came out and the boys were standing on top of the rocks at in Garden of the Gods cheering me on. That was my cheering squad. Nice. It was a really special thing. So
it was really cool. And that teed up probably, in my opinion, your top performance of the year, Javelina, 100 miler, where you were fifth female and then 13th overall in 15:24. And I got to pace lap 4, and it was 100 degrees when we left for that lap. We got to see a bunch of other runners. You were running very close to Aaron Clark, and whose partner is Adam Peterman. So I got to mix it up a bit with Peterman out there. It was fun. It was a great experience. And, I think for the biggest cheerleader you have, I think, in running is your dad. And it has been your entire life. And he was there at Leadville a couple of years back when it didn't go as well. And you looked like you were run over by a car. And that was his only experience with the 100-mile distance. So he had a lot of trepidation. Even when we were out there, I was very nervous. And so for you to come to go out for lap 5, come in from lap 4, you just see in his face how well you felt. I think it was really I think it was huge for him.
Yeah. I'm glad I rewrote the trauma that exists in my father's brain. I've said this multiple times, but like, he's now okay with me continuing to do a mile distance. Whereas before he's like, you should not do that. No more. You don't want to like hurt yourself or like damage your health. You should just not do that distance. And now I think he believes that there is something there that it's not gonna, it can be a good experience as well. So
definitely.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I think that I feel like my best or proudest performance has to be Javelina, kind of just finally nailing 100 miles, being okay with mixing it up with the very front of the pack and letting myself do that, giving myself permission and kind of having the confidence in the moment to do that was pretty huge for me. But I think that my Kendall Mountain, honestly, like just being able to progress and still get a little bit faster in a 12-mile race 7 years later.
Absolutely.
Is probably something I'm, maybe even more proud of, just from a growth and continuing to kind of grow as an athlete perspective. So, and Aravaipa's great. Thank you to Aravaipa for allowing us to do all these things.
Absolutely.
But I had a couple of memorable experiences that I just wanted to share that were not necessarily my own racing. I coach a handful of athletes, about 12 or 13 right now, but seeing some of their accomplishments was huge for me. Our friend Jacob ran his first 100-miler. I was crew and pacer at High Lonesome. Made me want to do that race because it's so beautiful. But just seeing him, the training he put in, he works a very demanding job and he can never run during the day. So he runs everything early in the morning before work, super dedicated to his training, and then does all the extra things too, that I suggest that he does. And if I suggest that he does it, but then just to see him get through, having some little niggles pop up and, not feeling great, but really complete his first 100-miler. And High Lonesome is not an easy 100-miler. There's a reason it's a Hard Rock qualifier. So that was really special to see. And he got to meet Jeff Browning at the end. And I said, Jeff, this is Jacob's first 100. He goes, nice to meet you, Jacob. It's my 54th. It was like one of those iconic, cool moments. So that was really special. My athlete Heather ran her first 100K ever at Javelina. Really proud of her for that. Justin Kraft ran 100-mile PR at Wasatch 100 of all things, right? Like he loves hundreds. He's finished UTMB, but he keeps getting faster and loves the mountains. And it's just a joy to kind of work with him.
Shout out to Justin, who's stoked about everything every time you talk to him.
He's so great. Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. And then just being able to go to some of these races through work and attending Western for the first time was really special.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was really
cool.
It was a good year. All right. We got to get through this. We're going long. This is like a super long episode.
We may have to skip the last little pieces. We'll see.
We can throw them in there.
Yeah.
We can add them as bonus.
And we can move pretty quick through some of this because we've talked about a number of these already.
Okay. Performance of the year is what we're talking about next.
Yep.
So we're going ultra and then sub ultra. So just whoever wants to, what is your performance of the year for ultra?
Doesn't count.
I don't care if Free Trail says it doesn't count. They are not God.
It was like you like Tara's AT over Jasmine Paris's Barkley.
It was if Jasmine had won Barkley all out, beat all the men, heck yeah, because that's what Tara did.
But it's not an ultra. It's not a race.
It's a 40-day event. She ran 50 miles a day. She ran an ultra every single day for 40 days. That's an ultra.
It's not like good ultra runners haven't tried to do this.
No, for sure.
Some amazing long trail ultra runners have tried this, and she is atop every one of them.
Absolutely. Jasmine Paris, she got recognized by newspapers because, the media for some reason is obsessed with Barkley because it's such a bizarre event and it's very, very hard. But not to the same level of media that Tara Dower got, where she was, calling in Good Morning America and things like that. You get called to call in to Good Morning America, you get Performance of the Year.
I still like Dave. I'm partial to Leadville, so I love.
Oh, so this is for women.
Women.
Okay.
I think that. Well, I will just mention there were a lot of amazing female performances this year. I think that Courtney DeWalter's overall body of work should count as one performance.
No,
This one, I'm going Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji 100 has 2,200 people in it. It is a massive, massive race. And she got third overall. So Courtney doesn't just win.
Right.
She gets
Wait, I got a question for you.
Podium overall at all of these races.
I totally understand that, and I uplift your opinion. However, who won that race?
Mount Fuji?
Come on. No idea. No one does. No one else we know ran that race.
It doesn't matter. The time she ran
a great
time.
She didn't miss.
She beat the next woman by 6 hours.
I totally did. She had an unbelievable performance.
Okay.
It just wasn't.
I just think it should be highlighted. That's all I'm going to say. Russ, women.
No, I mean,
performances of the year.
Rachel Drake's JFK, Katie's Western States, Mary Denholm's Leadville, Katie's UTMB. I have all of those over, actually all of the Courtney performances.
And Jasmine.
That's my, and Jasmine.
And Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Paris. I mean,
Jasmine Paris. I mean, unbelievable first woman to finish Berkeley when so many people said it would never happen.
and to finish it with like 90 seconds on the clock or something. Like the way she finished it.
The way she had to push for
Yeah.
the last 15 hours. If she let off the gas at all the last 15 hours, she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
Was not going to make it.
Yeah.
So, incredible.
It was incredible. An incredible year for women running, period. I mean, there were a number of races that the women's race was absolutely more exciting, and I was more excited about it than the men's race.
JFK was that way, for sure.
Okay. Men.
I mean, I think all three of us probably have the same one.
Yeah, I think it's unanimous for David's Leadville.
David Roach, first 100-miler. Matt Carpenter is one of the all-time greatest runners that many of newer generation haven't heard of because he hasn't been around in 20 years. But I mean, he was the absolute legend, and have that course record, and so many people try it over the years.
And to get to witness it as well.
And to be there and see
to
it.
be there and see how he was running at certain stages of the race.
Totally. Like,
Back
he came
after
in,
Hope Pass.
yeah,
After Hope
came
Pass.
in mile 62 like he was running a 10K. Like, I chased him down to
We
kinda
all
help
chased
prove
him.
We all
Yeah,
chased
the
him.
three of
That's
us.
right. And, I mean, we were hauling ass, and it was slightly uphill, and we were running like 7 flat pace. I was like, God.
It was faster. It was like 6:20 pace.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. It was so cool.
Wondering if the race starts now.
Yeah, totally.
And he had some swag, and
I
he
love
just
Yeah.
the way he looked, it was incredible.
Well, and David's such a good person and so good for the sport in terms of the way he uplifts it in such a positive way, talks about fueling in a really positive way. I mean, there couldn't be a better kind of almost spokesperson for how to do this the right way in this sport than David. And
Yeah.
so see
Well,
it
and I
and do
think
it.
like you start to see people kind of, it's like when they get famous, like is that going to corrupt them? Are they going to turn into a jerk or an asshole? Like,
Yeah.
or get power hungry? And it's like, David just gets more like, I love everybody.
He's going to lean more into that.
It amplifies where he's already at, which is great.
And honestly, like the coolest part of it all to me is that like he's doing what he has talked about for so long.
Totally.
He's finally shooting his own shot.
Yep.
He's finally going for it, being, putting big goals out there, stating them, chasing big dreams. Like, and I mean, a lot of people think it's kind of an overnight thing, but as we all know, like Graham first sent me an article that David wrote 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I was like, I really like this guy's writing. I wonder if he would coach me, right? So we just have known them for so long.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so cool to see all of his work and
For sure.
all of that just like come to life. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm rooting for heart hands across the finish line at Western.
Oh, yeah,
State.
no, sure.
I think David could do it. I think he's going to have the absolute perfect day. Everything's going to have to go right. And I think others will have to fade a little bit. But I absolutely think it could happen. It could happen. But yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but men's Western States, holy cow.
Yeah.
All right. I just had a couple other honorable mentions. To me, all three of the Western performances, Jim, Rod, and Hayden, to me, they all
So excited.
fit up there as like great performances of the year.
Absolutely.
Hayden's Black Canyon, Hayden's CCC, all of those. I mean, that's why he's Ultra Runner of the Year. Ludo's Hard Rock.
After
Talked
David.
about that one a little bit. Yeah.
And I think we could probably skip the sub ultra because I'm not sure anybody really cares.
Graham
that much about it.
Shellboy. Somebody's going to smack you. It's going to be Danny Marino.
We're
and
going
Johnny
to
Ring.
hate over this.
You're getting canceled.
We talked about most of these already, actually, on the Sub Ultra in terms of the specific performances. There's one on here, Corinne, your second place one
I wanted
that we haven't mentioned, and I want you to mention this one.
I was like pulling this out because I was looking through trail performances of the year on Free Trail. Thank you for providing this platform for us, Free Trail. So David Norris ran a course record at Mount Marathon. He ran almost sub 40 minutes. So Mount Marathon, for those who don't know, is not a marathon. It is a short distance.
5K.
Basically 5K.
Pretty much, straight up the side of a mountain in Seward, Alaska. right? And there are like 3 ways you can go up the mountain. You can take the cliffs or the rocks or the scree. Like you have to decide beforehand. A lot of people scout the course and there's not a specific route that you must follow. You get to pick. So you run straight up the side of this thing. Well, you run very, very fast on a flat road for a short period of time. Then you go straight up the side of a mountain on this gnarly terrain. Then you turn around and most people are wearing like biking gloves, knee pads, kind of all. I looked at pictures of David Norris. He's not wearing anything. He has no protection. He has no shirt on.
I saw a person wearing a helmet last year.
I mean, there's a reason that people do, because when you're coming down this thing is when it gets gnarly and you have to completely just send it, pray, let Jesus take the wheel kind of situation in order to actually do well at the race. So you are basically falling down the side of the mountain as fast as you can. And David Norris, he also had the record in 2016. So we're talking about 8 years later, him bettering his time and running what some people think will like maybe never be broken again. I mean, he beat Max King, who has done extremely well at this race before.
The other person that has held this course record in the past is Killian. And that seems to validify some things that are out there. If Killian gets a course record and you take that, it means something.
Oh yeah, we've all seen Killian run downhill on the Pikes Peak Marathon. He floats downhill. So yes. David Norris, shout out to you. Sub-ultra performance of the year in my book.
And one last name that I had on here, Lauren Gregory, who is a recent graduate. I think she graduated from Arkansas. She was recently on Free Trail. She is yet another person to watch. I think she won Dirt Circus, and there were a lot of really good
runners. There's an Olympian at Dirt Circus this year.
She's going to turn some heads. I really hope she goes into the bigger distances sooner than later. I know she said she's going to do some Golden Trail next year, but I'm hoping to see her line up for ultras.
I think it's possible. You know?
Did she get like 3rd overall in the Golden Trail Series? Something like that? 2nd or 3rd?
She got 2nd in the finals.
Yeah.
And a top 10 overall.
Okay.
Right. Because she said she didn't do all of, I can't remember exactly why, but she had some conflicts.
Well, here's something interesting I didn't know until I talked to Laura Hamilton. I met way back at Solomon Camp and saw her at US Trail Running Conference. You get top 30 or top 35 in Golden Trail and you get support for the next year.
You do.
Really? In the overall rankings, if you are like top 35, they give you like entries, travel.
From
like
Solomon?
I don't know, just from the series itself, but they support you to come back and race.
That's really neat.
I think it's like she was so stoked. She got like 30th and she's like, so I get support next year. I'm like, that's so cool. That's a way to keep people coming back to you.
Yeah, for sure. Christina Mascarenas kind of got into that grouping as well. Mm-hmm. Ali Ostrander, same sort of scenario. And it's like that. It's like, you know, they've got the TV crew that follows around kind of the top athletes, and those top athletes it's almost like a little camp every time they go to a series of races. And they've set it up to where it's like, there's 2 races in the United States, back-to-back weekends. There's 2 races in Europe in a similar region, back-to-back weekends, that kind of thing. Yeah. So people can get, you know, as many races as they can in the series.
Yep.
I mean, for me, on the women's side, I had Joyline Chepnego in the Golden Trail World Series final. She won the whole thing in the final, had a great performance that day and boosted her overall ranking. It was Joyce who won the overall, but it was Joyline who won the actual final race. And then I put Mary Denholm's sub 4 hour Leadville Trail marathon as a top performance. We looked at that race earlier for Ultra Uncovered, and we were noting that I think there was maybe only one other sub 4 hour performance on the women's side.
Yeah.
And so that was a standout performance there.
It was so fast. Our child needs attending to. Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Why don't we skip the
lotteries
and we'll just do the last one. We can get to we'll be talking about those as it gets closer and closer.
All right. We might add it as bonus at some point. Who was excited to see at Western or Hard Rock got into this?
Yep.
Okay. But last but not least, some of our fun favorites. We've got our favorite piece of gear. Let's start with that. Anybody favorite piece of gear?
I'm wearing mine. This is all plated shoes. I think the plated shoe revolution is here. I mean, almost everybody who won major races won in plated shoes this year. I think it's a game changer, and I think it's for less about the propulsion and more about the leg protection that it gives you over the longest distances. So I think I mean, it's very important. I mean, even David has said that the reason he's able to kind of do these long ones and his legs still feel good is because of the plate. And I think it's huge. And I don't know that it matters if it's carbon fiber or fiberglass, but I think plated is kind of here to stay.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that now we'll get to a piece of nutrition, but we all know that eating is the key to ultra running. And you can't eat if your hands don't work. My piece of gear every year is hot hands. Hot hands is the gear of the year every year.
Everybody knows that Russ wears these in the middle of summer.
I mean, it's December. You got to have hot hands.
My gear of the year is ice bandana.
Yes.
Because the cooling revolution is upon us. It is the reason people are breaking records and not getting hot at Western states.
Yep.
And right now, one of the best methods we have of doing that is keeping ice on you all the time through an ice bandana or other methods. I mean, I stuffed it in my sports bra constantly at Javelina. So, and I think I heard Jeff Mogavera stuffed it in his shirt at Javelina and made a ice belly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You can put it in anything, but I'll just say ice and cooling is my gear of the year. Okay, nutrition item.
Nutrition.
All right, I'm going to bring out, I'm kind of a nutrition nerd now that I work at the feed. See a lot of very weird, different gels. I'm going to bring out a couple I know you guys won't talk about that I like right now. Amex Turbo Gel, 40 grams of carbs, similar to an SIS Beta Fuel. European brand, 1 to 0.8 ratio versus a 1 to 2 or a 2 to 1 ratio, like a lot of the gels have in it. I like this one, 160 calories, citrus, easy to take, very thin. Also Enervit, similar, also 160 calories, citrus. This is a 2 to 1, but 40 grams of carbs, lime. They have a couple other flavors. Again, very similar to like an SIS Beta Fuel. If you haven't tried these, you might like the flavor. So both of those I have used during races and will continue to use.
So when SIS is sold out,
you can get those. Those are alternatives. And then also you can do bicarb. That's a nutrition item of the year. Yeah. I mean, we saw, so this is what bicarb looks like. You have to watch our YouTube, but it's like pellets. So nobody ever says what it looks like, but it's like these little pellets. And this is literally a quarter serving that I'm showing right here. So that's, and you mix it in here. First, you shake up powder and water to make a gel in this container. And then you put these pellets in it, and then you eat the whole thing like a soup. And I think
don't bite the pellets.
You do not bite the pellets.
Definitely not.
Yes,
I have never taken it, but I just heard.
That's correct. That is correct. You just slurp, as David would say. So bicarb, I think, is something most people are doing, and will continue to be done, and is changing the game.
And I think my last thing is put this on feed, and Corinne does work for them, so I am biased a little bit, but I think I heard on the Single Track podcast where they mentioned the feed, how the feed branding is everywhere. And I think there's something to that, because I think if you looked around this year, you saw the feed all over the place. And I think there's a big piece of that because, we talk about David doing 120 carbs an hour or bicarb or any of those things. And the feed is kind of front and center of really where you get a lot of that stuff. And because you saw it so many places, I think there's been a big push where, people really think, where am I going to get my nutrition? The feed. So the feed to me was a big kind of newcomer, and they weren't totally new for this year. It's just they made a really big push this year. And I think hopefully they saw a lot of success from it.
Yeah, and it's being talked about as a part of training. It's not how many miles did you run? It's how many miles did you run and what were your numbers? You really practiced your nutrition. You're going to be dialed and ready for an ultra.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be quick. I picked out my keys. Yes. My favorite gel, Octane Lime. And one of the things that a lot of the gels are not doing anymore is putting the sodium in the gel, and Goo continues to do that. They've got the amino acids and the sodium as well as a little bit of caffeine. So these ones are great. And then
a little bit of caffeine that adds up to a lot of caffeine.
A little bit of caffeine that adds up a little lot of caffeine. Careful on the caffeine. These chews to me are like revolutionary. They're kind of like got kind of a chalky feel. They're easier to eat than a lot of gels.
Fuel and hydration.
Precision fuel and hydration. 30 grams of carb for the two of them. There's a mint and a lemon one, and they're kind of big, but they're really easy to eat. And I love them. So this has been, the OG Roctane gel, and then the precision gels, or the precision chews. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then
the SIS betas.
This is the beta fuel. Beta fuel is the talk of the town.
They should call it the David fuel.
I'm gonna keep this because it just keeps going up in value currently.
If anyone wants to bid on this, we're taking auction bids for it.
Currently unavailable anywhere.
Yeah, maybe back in stock soon for sure.
Okay.
All right. And last thing is
shoe.
Okay.
So Graham already did his shoe.
Yep.
I'm gonna say that I did wear the Agrivic Speed Ultra. This is also the shoe that won Leadville with David. This is the shoe that won Javelina. This is the shoe that I didn't think I was going to wear for 100 miles, but I ended up wearing for 100 miles. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I think it's
Adidas Agrivic Speed Ultra.
Adidas Agrivic Speed Ultra.
Yeah, probably shoe of the year this year. For me, I got a brand new pair. This is the Nike Ultra Fly ones. I am excited for the twos to come out, but the ones were so good. I put 500 miles on a pair earlier this year, and I'm excited to put miles on this one. Probably going to be my Black Canyon shoe.
Nice. Okay. The last fun thing is our ultra running meme. We might just have to link these in, but we'll describe them. So we'll link them in the show notes so you can look at them, but it's always important to keep it fun. You Boy Scout Jurek. And I'm going to say Aid Station Fireball's really coming with some good ones.
Liam is really doing
Liam is doing amazing. So what was your favorite ultra running meme of the year, Graham?
Mine was You Boy Scout Jurek. I don't know if there's a date on here. You guys will be able to find it. It was this year, but it was a text conversation between three people, and the first person says, yeah, 12 miles is fine, just need to be back by lunch. And then another person says, I'm totally free. Jen is down in Sheridan visiting her parents. And you can see this weird little thing underneath. And then someone says, WTF is that thing? And the person comes back and says, it's a sticker. Yeah, but of what? It's David Roach doing the heart thing. And so he made a sticker out of it. And it's a weird looking thing. If you don't know what it is, you're like, what is that thing? And it's just absolute gold.
David Roach heart hands.
David Roach heart hands has become his staple. But also, I love that You Boy Scout Jurek actually gave the instructions on how to make a sticker out of anything on his stories later. They were like, how do you do that? And he actually told everybody how to do it.
We'll just have to link mine. I didn't pick any good ones today.
All right, I'm going to go with two. I'm going to say my first one was Aid Station Fireball, Javelina 100 Lap 1. There's a nice pizza, a nice pizza with some pepperoni. It kind of looks like a minion, but
it is a minion for sure.
Javelina 100 Lap 4, because I experienced this personally. It is a completely melted. Eyes are all over the place. You can't tell what the skirt is. It's completely destroyed. But the best part is the caption, and it just says absolutely cooked.
It's cooked.
Yeah,
cooked.
So that's one of them that I thought was amazing. Great job, Liam. And the other one that is my favorite is this guy, because we watched the fight between what's the other guy's name?
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson.
And the best part of that whole broadcast, other than the women's fight, which was the best fight of all, was when we just got this flash of 62-year-old butt.
Tyson ass.
Just Tyson butt out there with some kind of strange apparatus around his waist. Well, again, Aid Station Fireball, kudos to him, posted this and said, me leaving the YMCA sauna after heat training for my winter ultra. And the caption is au natural. So that was a really good one. I have one more, sorry. The last one is a Boy Scout Jurek, and it's a guy, you just see his, and he has tattoos on his neck. Hold on, let me show it to you, Russ. You just see these tattoos on his neck, and they say 5K times 19, 10K times 11, 13.1 times 7, 26.2 times 4, 50K times 2, and DNF times 8. Tattooed on the guy's neck. I love it.
Oh, solid.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. This was so fun. I enjoy it every time.
Yeah. What a year 2024 was.
What a year 2025 it will be.
Yeah.
It's ready for amazing. It. Thanks
everybody.
Bye.